So, um, I don't know how many know of Cape Town, South Africa, and the water shortage that they are currently experiencing. Now, I'm going to state this outright. The water shortage there is due because uh, the people in Cape Town, the white people in Cape Town, and the black people in Cape Town who have economic stability uh, have basically caused a situation of the water shortage. They have contributed more to the water shortage uh, than than the even the very reality of climate change uh, uh, being a factor, because climate change is a factor, but the completely irresponsible use of water in Cape Town by the economically stable, um, meaning that those who have more money have used the water um, through uh, through the privilege that they've been granted by uh, policymakers uh, who are sitting in the local government of Cape Town. Um, so, as I said, it's an environmental factor of climate, but it's also one of the larger aspects is well, not larger, but one of the aspects is the completely irresponsible and selfish and frankly ignorant use of water because they've ignored the reality. So, and I keep saying this in many of my videos, is that the root of ignorance is to ignore, and to ignore reality, you have ignorance. So that is a major contributing factor is why South Africa has the issue. I mean, Cape Town has the issues that it has. Now, other cities are having the same issue, and from what I've kept up with, it seems that private interest still plays a catastrophic factor in perpetuating, prolonging, and promoting uh, the the uh, the shortage of a resource that not only people but animals and basically anything that's living uh, have all in common. Where skin tone, religious belief, uh, economic standing does not apply. Um, and uh, AJ Plus does a great job of explaining what's happening. And I just finished watching yet another report on in Cape Town, South Africa. And here's a simple thing: there is a solution, a long term permanent solution that not only gives a solution the to depletion of water, but it also gives an economic new economic platform, which is what the guy that's the head that's in the government, that's the head in Cape Town, uh, touches on. But basically, his touching on it is has a blatant and brazen uh, bias in it. It's the bias of self-interest and partisan, partisanship. So now, I admit I could be reading more into it than the actual cases, and perhaps he genuinely has uh, is well intentioned because of self-preservation, and that is something that we all share. But if he really wants solutions, there's a simple solution, and a solution that can be applied in 2 years would give uh, an immediate uh, relief. But in 5 years, it could 5 years or less, it could solve the solution and create a new economical paradigm for not just Cape Town but South Africa as well. The solution is multi-phased, um, and but this requires that there is that people start thinking in different terms and stop with this where people of non-white or non-economic economic stability are discounted, because you can't. The solution will utterly fail if that sort of practicality and pragmatism uh, uh, is not is not it's is not applied, because you need to ignore these all these meaningless um, diversions, because it comes down to a simple thing: united you stand, divided you fall. And unfortunate for anybody who believes in this rhetoric that, because of economic um, security or racial biases, um, you you'll fall if you can't at least set it aside in common interest for yourselves. Because the solution I have, that I know for a fact will work, requires the utilization of every South African citizen, everybody living in South Africa, and even people that have vacation homes or whatnot. Otherwise, it will utterly fall apart if you allow um, a larger voice to a private interest or partisan interest. Then it will fail utterly, and the cause of that failure will be on those who promote such things. Um, there is a common self-interest that uh, that will save, and then there's the self-interest which is localized or internalized, and if that's the case, then it will fail. Now the solution is now some of the stuff that uh, applications they want to use has some application, but it's not a long-term solution, and it most certainly is not a permanent solution. The permanent solution is recycling, but not recycling at um, some uh, privately held recycling plant. So that won't work. So what you got to do is make each and every home, and that means making those shanty towns that the black citizens who live in Cape Town or anywhere else in South Africa, you have to be able to produce actual actual homes in order to solve this issue. Now, there's a quick and easy way to produce these new houses, this new housing, and that solution is basically using a carbon um, uh, carbon ceramics, nanocarbon ceramics, and made into into building blocks that are almost like snapping Legos together. Now, uh, this technology is out there, and this is industrial standard technology, which is already out there. It's just applying it in a different fashion. But that's why I said 5 years. But in the short term, it's um, it's putting um, temporary uh, implementing temporary solutions for uh, a longer term, meaning the 5 year period of actually incorporating a, a network where each and every home recycles all water usage. Outside pools, not a good idea. Inside pools would still be viable, but it'd be better if the wealthier suburbs actually had a communal pool, and so you do this, and then you apply catching rainwater, and you apply desalination. Now, each local regional area uh, must have a excess collection point. So I'm talking um, smaller collection points of where the water that's been recycled goes into as a reserve. And I'm not talking like making reservoirs and so on and so forth. I'm talking putting this all underground, and not deep underground. So it's inexpensive, and you can make it even more inexpensive by giving mass training to as many people as possible, so that new vocations are created. So how to manufacture um, locally these filtration systems. Um, so there's the new vocation, um, and it's integral that this happens, because if this doesn't take place and you put some private company or private interests to try to reap as much money from producing this, then it will utterly fail, which is why you need it at a local level. So the information and the education should be disseminated to as many as possible, and not just white people or black people who have uh, more economic stability. This has to be something that has to be this has to be a nationwide effort. I made these other videos where I said, nothing ever gets built. You can have $100 billion, but you can't tell that $100 billion to go build something if if nobody, if bills, dollar bills don't have legs, they don't have arms, they don't have brains, and they certainly don't have blood, so they can't walk and pick up things and stop building. So the whole thing is that people should be the most important part in any economy, and knowledge is what is the most important in any economy. But that's all beside the point. So doing that, adding adding to this, and then building up from these simple, rudimentary beginnings, you can have a, a permanent resolution to the problem, as well as uh, bring the your economy up and bring new standards, new vocations, as well as establishing uh, small business by the thousands, by the tens of thousands. So there is your solution to that problem. But you can take this even further. You can produce electricity in each and every home, each and every office building, each and every warehouse, every basically any structure. You can produce electricity on a regional, uh, locational by location, and that would increase the speed and resolution of water, um, and the issue of correcting for water issues. That will be a permanent solution. But once again, no, private interests that make money off of the electricity and can dictate the pricing and cost, that will ruin it immediately. So again, there is a simple, easy, cost-effective solution. Because what is economy except for people disseminating information and skills to one another? Money is simply a tool. But right now, the capitalistic standard is that the money is the end all and be all. And there is no accounting for the people who actually drive an economy. And in my book, that's ass backwards. You can't build, you can't, none of these automated machines could ever been built without people who had the idea, who had the training, who had the knowledge to make it. As I said, nothing is ever built or made or utilized which did not involve people. And this is the primary part of the solution for the preservation of a natural resource, a vital resource that we all share in common, no matter where we live. So, if you want, so if Cape Town and any other city and any other place wants solutions for stuff like this, then the mind, the way we think and how we look has to change. I I'm going to be starting something called the Creative Solutions Workshop. Um, and so, if anybody watches this and wants to become part of this, part of that, then once I can figure out how to set up a website and stuff like that, I thought so I can gather people together. Then I'll give you the address to the website and all that other stuff. So let's let's work on that, and hopefully, what I've had to say will thanks.